Good Sunday morning, everybody. How you doing? Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna hop over here. Go to the, let's see here. Channel, see if I'm live. Okay. All right. One watching. Okay. Well, let's just hang out a bit and see if we have anybody coming in. Hey, there's a couple of people. Go ahead and say hi in the chat, guys. If you see me okay, if the sound is okay and everything's coming through, and we'll get things rolling a bit. Let's see. Hey, there's Elliot. All right, Elliot's here. Sounds good. We got 5 now. We're moving along. Does that ring a bell at all? Ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe, if you don't know by now. Ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe, it don't matter anyhow. When the rooster crows at the break of dawn, look out your window and I'll be gone. You're the reason I'm traveling on. Don't think twice, 'cause it's alright. How's the sound? Sound okay? There's Fitz. All right. Give me a thumbs up if the keyboard is coming, if it's too loud, if it's too quiet. What are you hearing? I am weak, but thou art strong. Jesus, keep me from all wrong. I'll be satisfied as long as I walk, dear Lord, close to thee. Just a closer walk with thee. Granted, Jesus is my plea. Daily walking close to thee. Let it be, dear Lord, let it be. When my feeble life is o'er, time for me will be no more. Guide me safely to thy shore, to thy kingdom, dear Lord, evermore. Awesome. Elliot, you know that song, don't you? Probably grew up with that. Anyway, so welcome to the show. We'll get some people up here. I'm going to have Fitz come up here a little bit. And but first, I thought I would get things. Hey, Paul, how you doing? I'd get in Stephen, sweet. I'd get things going, and I'd show a few. I haven't shown any 74s, I don't think, for a while at least. So I thought I'd show some kind of non-typical, so to speak, 74s, and maybe explain a little bit about him. And of course, I don't know a whole lot, but we'll start off with this. I wonder if you guys have ever seen this. Here, let me take this out. Ray Manzarek, huh? How about that? The Golden Scarab. This is it's pretty wild. I didn't know this existed and stumbled across it several months ago. And look at, he's holding that scarab there. Is this, am I backwards? No, I'm good. Okay. And it's kind of like, it's definitely Doors-ish. You know, he was the keyboard player for the Doors, and it's pretty good. I really like it. It's kind of like Doors light, but yeah, it's really weird. I don't think it's sold at all. Maybe you guys know this or anything. It doesn't have anything real of note on it. The last track is called "O Thou Precious Nectar-Filled Form," or "A Little Fart," which I think is kind of weird. Anyway, produced by Bruce Botnick. But anyway, that's kind of a weird 74 that I came across. Let's see. There's this group called Society of Seven, and this is a taste of country. These guys were the house band for like 40 years, and I think there's a derivative of them still playing at the Outrigger Waikiki in Hawaii, and they sing show tunes, and it's mostly, let's see, it's mostly Hawaiian guys. I think there's one white guy right there, but there's some original members there. But this is an album, and it has "Make the World Go Away," "The Most Beautiful Girl in the World," "If You Happen to See the Most Beautiful Girl," "Take Me Home Country Roads," the John Denver song, "Dear Father Abrams," "Help Me Make It Through the Night," "Lay Some Happiness on Me," "I Can't Stop Loving You." We all know that song. Anyway, this is actually pretty good. It's like lounge music, kind of easy listening. On the Silver Sword audio record. So this was kind of fun. This was just like a $2 record that I picked up. Which was very cool. Hey, Rochelle. Another 74. This is an interesting band. I hadn't heard of these guys until I found it. This is Orphan. And there's been lots of bands called Orphan, but this was kind of the original band. These guys, I think, formed in '69 in Boston, and they kind of kept the Boston scene, from what I understand, the Boston scene going right when Aerosmith was right before Aerosmith was taken off from Boston. And this is pretty good. It's not, it's just kind of standard rock and roll. They sing "What Goes On," the Ringo Starr song from the Beatles, and it sounds surprisingly like that. It's not a super inspiring song, but it's been good. And then the last song is "I've Been Working," the Van Morrison song, but the rest of them are written by Eric Littlequist. Yeah, it's okay, but it's kind of one that you don't see very often from '74. More Orphan than not. Excuse me, by Orphan. A lot of you know who Roy Woods, is it Wood or Woods? Roy Woods, I think, is. He was a founding member of ELO, and he did a lot of projects over the years, and he formed it when he left. I think in kind of contentiously with ELO after their first or second album, and he formed the band Wizard, and he did this album called Eddie and the Falcons, and this is a concept album, and it's all music that sounds like music, rock and roll from the 50s and 60s, and they do some of their songs are like a take on Elvis songs, and some early Phil Spector in there, and it's pretty good. It's if you want to get a taste of that kind of old time rock and roll. Hey, Ian, how you doing? Then it's what label is this on? It's on United Artists, and which is kind of interesting. It's kind of got this diner feel, and they're all in this diner here, and This is the American version. I think the UK version, the check is like purple or green. When you look on Discogs, they're different colors. That was kind of cool. 74, obviously. So a lot of people have heard about a guy named Cole Porter. He was a composer and songwriter for like show tunes and stuff like that in the 20s and 30s, and he was kind of a playboy. And he was born in Peru, Indiana, to a wealthy family, and his I think his mom wanted him to be a doctor or a lawyer. Everybody kind of bucked that system there, and decided he wanted to be in music, and he was classically trained and was very successful. And when I was reading his wiki page, it was talking about his kind of risque parties. He had a like a luxury apartment or something in Paris, and he would have these the parties that had homosexuals in them and bisexuals, and it was very risque and controversial. But he was a hugely famous with the show tunes. I think I can't think of the Broadway shows that he wrote and stuff. But in college, it said that when he went to Yale, he wrote like 300 songs while he was in college, which was wild. Anyway, which leads me to this album right here. You guys recognize her? Sybil does it to Cole Porter. So a lot of us know Sybil Shepherd. She's an actress. She became famous probably 10 years after this. When did Moonlighting come in with Bruce Willis? I think it was the mid 80s, right? So about 10 years after this. But she sings these show tunes. Look at this. Hubba hubba. She's got something. But this is the unexpurgated lyrics. So it's the I think a lot of people were changing Cole Porter's lyrics and doing different things with them in releases, but this is the way he wrote it supposedly. And I listened to this again last night, and she has a lovely voice. It's not something that I would listen to very often, but it's kind of cool that it's a 74. And look at this. Peter Bogdanovich, that was her boyfriend at the time, the movie maker, and he produced this album. And so that was kind of wild. I thought that was cool. So let's see. I've got one more from 74, and this is my favorite of the ones I'm showing. And a lot of you jazz guys will know this guy, Buddy Rich. This is the Roar of 74, and it's a crazy cover. He's on the back here. A lot of drummers and people into jazz and big bands and stuff think of him as one of the greatest drummers of all time. He was friends with Mel Torme and Frank Sinatra, and was in the whole Las Vegas scene for a long time. And this album is fantastic. It is so good, and it's got just incredible drumming on it. And I think I'm gonna try. The last track on this is called Senator Sam, and I'm going to try to riff to this, just kind of vamp on this for a little bit, if we can. Tell me if it comes through. If it's too loud, I'll be watching the hey Joe, I'll be watching the chat here to see if it's too loud, and I'll knock the volume down. And I'm not going to play it all, but because I'm hoping that it's old enough that it won't get a copyright strike or anything like that. But let's see if it comes through. Anyway, all right, guys, cool. What do we got? We got 19 after. Okay, hope that sounded cool. Let's let me copy a link here. Let's see. Okay, I go to my buddy here. Hang tight just a bit. Okay. Messages. Okay. All right, Fitz. You should have it. See him up here in a little bit. Oops. Okay. That sound okay, guys? That was fun. Here's the link. Vincent. How you doing, Vincent? Okay, let's see. Let's make I'm into making moderators. So let's make a moderator. Chris, you need a mod. You need to be a mod. I'll kind of count on you guys to police yourself. I'm not too good at it yet. Vincent, let's see here. Okay. And Elliot, we got to make you a mod here. All right. Okay. 16. Oh, I got 16 guys in the room. Thanks, guys, for hanging out. So maybe Fitz will be here in a little bit. But I think a lot of you were over, maybe not a lot, but some of you were over on Rachel's, her Patreon stream. I think you can handle the responsibility, Elliot. You can do it. And that was good. There was no trolls today, so it was really good to hang out with them. And I was up on the panel with Yvonne, Music Man, so that was fun. And yeah, so we'll hang out. Let's see here. Jim, I don't think you can hang out, bud. I'll count on you guys to take care of that. Yeah, no, yeah, Jim. I don't know how I okay. Thank you, Paul. And I don't know how to ban or whatever do that. So anyway, I don't want it to be too controversial. We'll keep it light. Here's my buddy. Hey, Fitz, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Really good. I think I've got an echo, and it's probably on my side.
You're good. I hear you just fine. Good. All right. How you been?
There we go. I think I'm good on my side. It was two
cool.
Martys, which is almost
better than one. Yeah, you got to mute the YouTube, but yeah, keep it open so you can see the chat and whatnot. Yeah, it's kind of a little juggle there for just a little bit.
I'm good. It's been a long time. How are you?
Yeah, how's how are things up in BC?
Things are good. I don't imagine that the weather. People are just gripped to the stories of the weather, but a little bit of snow melting now. I'm from back east, so it's really not that big a deal. But as you get older, that snow it gets to be a drag.
It does, and when you drive truck, it's no fun. We had we parked the trucks on Thursday and Friday this week, so I got a 4-day weekend, which is really nice. Unfortunately, it's coming to an end here, but yeah, it's nice. You know, the kids love the snow, and it's good to have it for a bit. I'm 20 minutes away from feet of snow up in the mountains here, but down in the Willamette Valley, we're between 200 and 300 feet. So we get a few days every year. Sometimes we get an ice storm and it gets kind of hairy for a week or so, but it's not too bad. Hey, that my daughter who's in France is in the chat. Sophie. Wow, I just talked to her on the phone with my wife.
So how did you get a family member to actually join your?
Well, she didn't have I think she created a YouTube channel just so that she could get on. So hey, so Sophie, cool. How you doing? She's over in France teaching English right now. She graduated from Oregon State last year, and her minor was in French, so she speaks fluent. And she decided to spend a year over in France, and just
Great.
Just got done spending a week with a friend who came over to visit her, and they went to Portugal and they went sailing and did all sorts of fun stuff. So
that's fantastic.
Anyway, so good to have her here. And yeah, so Fitz, have you seen the new? People have been talking about that new Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Oh, I need to watch your video. You posted a little video on that, didn't you? Tell me about it. Yeah,
I did. One thing that's really interesting is just because the video is the video, but I got a lot more views than I normally get because I did it quickly. So I've noticed that when you do something, just as something is coming out, you're more likely to get people to watch it.
Yeah.
So if one cares about that. But yeah, I really liked it. It was so good to hear their music on an amazing, sound system, IMAX. And
yeah.
It was great. I sort of admitted in my video that there's certain artists that I just don't gravitate to play much anymore. And Zeppelin's one of those bands, but it was like a major part of my high school. So,
okay.
I was born in 59. So in the 70s, I was, in my teens or early or close to teens. So it was dominant, right? And Stairway to Heaven closed every dance and stuff like that. It was really, really good. But in terms of format for my taste, I would have preferred, I don't really like to talk negative stuff because I think it's more talking about stuff you get excited about. But I would have loved to have seen other people talk about how much Zeppelin meant to them. Like if you ever saw the documentary, It Might Get Loud with Jimmy Page and The Edge and
with Jack White, right?
Jack White.
I need to watch that.
When Page plays Whole Lotta Love, like he just gets up and he starts to play it, and Jack White is like a schoolboy in absolute heaven, and I love that stuff,
That's cool.
There was none of that. So that part,
and there was no narrator from what I understand, right? There was no narrator.
No. Yeah. And so it was the 3 surviving members, and there was a really good interview that had been done, like voice interview with John Bonham, and they weaved that into the talking about the band. So that was cool. But of course, the other big thing is it ends at Led Zeppelin 2, and it really is becoming Led Zeppelin. It's the origin story, and leading up to their second album, there was a lot of stuff that came after that would be quite interesting as well. And people are speculating that maybe there'll be a second documentary at some point.
My, I grew up a church kid, and so I didn't have much exposure to Led Zeppelin. I'd hear Stairway to Heaven, of course, and Ramble On, and some of the big ones on the radio occasionally. But I didn't really get into them until I was an adult. And my first kind of my foot through the door was a concert I went to in Portland. That was a band called the Mutual Admiration Society, and it was Glenn Phillips from Toad the Wet Sprocket, 2 members of Nickel Creek, and John Paul Jones was playing the bass.
Wow!
And it was at a small theater called the Roseland Theater, and I was generally in the concerts that I would go to, we'd make sure we go early because it was all standing room down front, and I was just right on the stage on kind of the left side with my elbows on the stage. And so John Paul Jones was right in front of me there. And what a guy. And then he came out and he was playing bass, but then he brought a mandolin out and was playing. And it wasn't Chris Thiele. It was the Watkins, Sean and Sarah Watkins from Nickel Creek. Do you remember when Nickel Creek was so big?
I know of them, but I don't know their music very well.
Kind of a progressive bluegrass band, but and then I was a big fan of Toad the Wet Sprocket back in the 90s, and so it was cool to see Glenn Phillips. And it was just kind of a strange. I think it was just I don't think they put out any albums, but it was just kind of a tour that they did to small venues around the country, and it was awesome. So after that, I was like, John Paul Jones from Led Zeppelin, wow. So then I listened to their music a little bit more after that, but that was kind of
well. He's a really, I guess all 3 members, but I found his part of the interviews the most interesting. He was so playful, and his eyes just sparkled with enthusiasm talking about it. Very articulate, and he is just a musician's musician, as you probably know from having watched him. He's a great keyboard player as well, and an arranger. So I think you'll enjoy the film.
Yeah, we have an IMAX here in Portland. I don't know if I'll make it up to it, but I'm sure it'll be streaming before too long.
But if you can,
I know, right? I need
got to see it in the theater, because you just feel this heaviness. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like how powerful they are live. That was my highlight of the whole experience, was hearing it loud, and the sound, like even of the stuff that was recorded in the late 60s, however they remastered it or whatever, is so good. It's incredible. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. There's some VC guys, I think Harry and a couple of the guys are coming down, Uwe maybe to Portland next weekend. While I'm in Portland, I should check the show times and maybe see if I can catch that in the evening or something like that.
Honestly, do it. It'll really leave an impression on you, I'm sure.
Do they give you that poster when you go in?
Yeah. Well, I think I was there opening night, or if not, like within the first night or two. So I don't know if it's a standard thing, but they gave those out when we left, which was great.
That's cool. Very cool. Yeah, you wouldn't. That's cool that they gave them to you when you left, so you wouldn't wrinkle them up or whatever when you're sitting in the seat. People would be
exactly. Yeah. It was great.
Yeah, right on. Okay, what do we got in the chat here? Hey, Yvonne is here. Thank you for being here, buddy. We need to get is Biggie in? Minute. Big Ian never got in. Does it need to make you Ian? I'm gonna make you a moderator here. Let's see here. Okay. Let's see.
Marty, just let you know, I pulled out last night some 74s. So
you did? Okay. Go for it. Go for it, Fitz. Let's see him.
So I haven't watched every one of your ones, so some of this may be repetitious, but okay, 74, I was 15.
All right.
We in the VC talk about like around that age, just how important music is.
Yeah.
So here's the stuff that I got into right at the time in 74. Okay. I got to cover that up.
Sure. I know that album. Yeah.
Country Life. I just absolutely love this record, and saw them in concert about a year or two later. And that was really memorable. Yeah. I love that record.
I got my first, I was 20 years old and I got introduced to Avalon.
Oh yeah.
And that kind of blew my mind. I hadn't listened to anything like that. My buddy at work gave me a cassette tape of it, and that he had dubbed or whatever. And that was really cool. Yeah.
Well, the production on that was one of those records that you just the lush production at the time was one of the best produced records.
Yeah. Cool.
So I know some are fans and some aren't, but it almost sounds like a name of a Zappa album. Some are and some aren't. But
right.
Apostrophe. I mean, this had the hit, the Don't Eat the Yellow Snow, but as is often the case with Zappa in particular, the hit isn't really the best thing on the record. Right. So Apostrophe was my intro into Zappa, and became a big Zappa fan in high school.
Yeah. I love that album. That was that was probably in the first 20 albums that I got when I started doing 74s. And then a couple months ago, I picked up his live album from 74, Live at the Roxy and Elsewhere, I think it is.
Yes.
That's really good. I really like that one.
Yeah. Another 74, right?
Yeah.
So I know you're not a fan of this band. When I saw your stream last night, like from last week, I was like, he's joking, right? He's joking, right? You're not a Stones fan. So
no, not so much. Yeah, I do have the album, but what do you think of this album?
Well, so this is got the filter of, I bought this in my teen years, right? So in reflecting back on it, it's not their greatest record, but there are songs on here that I absolutely love. Dance Little Sister and Fingerprint File. I think Billy Preston is on it, but it is one of the funkiest songs. So I encourage you to go back and just listen to that. I think it's the last song on the album, but listen to Fingerprint File. And it's about kind of paranoia that the authorities are listening in on you. So they must have been probably coked up, and they probably were being listened in on. But Fingerprint File is not typically Stones-ish. It's super funky.
Okay. All right. I'll listen to that this afternoon. I'll go and listen to that. I also picked up recently Ron Wood's album from 74. I think it's called I've Got My Own Album to Do.
Right. I don't know that.
It's
messy.
It's kind of messy.
Yeah. Okay. Also, I mean, again, these are 74 for me, because I've also got some ones for my birth year that if we have time, I'll show you. But
that'd be awesome.
But 74, again, 15 years old. So it was a couple of years after this was released. But this, to me, anybody who's on the fence about Grateful Dead, I mean, it has to be the first, like, it has to be Working Man's Dead and American Beauty as gateways in.
Yeah.
But this one here and the song Unbroken Chain in particular.
Yeah.
And so I had to get the MoFi version.
Yeah, I've been thinking about if I want to spring for the MoFi or a copy that sounds better. I just have a standard copy, and that is a great album. I didn't used to be a Dead fan, but again, another friend kind of turned me on to it, who was a Deadhead that followed him everywhere and sold acid at the shows for like 10 years and stuff like that. And
Maybe I bought some from him. Oops.
Maybe so. He had like just cases full of bootleg cassette tapes that he recorded at the shows. And I wonder if he still has those.
Well, you know that, Marty, that was part of the culture of the Grateful Dead. And
that's
it
right.
actually was such a huge part of why I think they became so successful, is just everybody trading tapes. And it was probably one of the strongest, and still is one of the strongest communities in the music world.
For sure.
Exists, right?
Yeah.
So look at the ringwear on that one.
Wow, look at that.
And that actually is taped up to hold it together.
Yeah.
I played this to bloody death. Like,
it's good. It's really good.
It's really good. Yeah.
I like it so much better than Diamond Dogs.
Yeah, same year, right? But this is fantastic. And this was my intro into David Bowie. I mean, it's a strange way to get in on a live album.
Yeah. I thought the production quality is really good on it. I mean, the band sounds wonderful.
Beautiful. Yeah, I agree with you. It's really clean. It's a powerful performance. It really sounds good.
That's cool. Very cool.
And another live one. So this guy, in those days in 74, artists would put out like 2 records a year, sometimes 3. But Lou Reed put out Sally Can't Dance, but this to me is another fabulous live record, Rock and Roll Animal.
That one needs to grow on me a little bit more. It's pretty stripped down, I think, a little bit. And I was never a huge Velvet Underground kind of guy, but I'm more of a John Cale guy than a Lou Reed guy, I guess. But I have that album, and I need to give it, like the Stones, I need to give it some more time.
Well, I think it's funny, like, as we do this and I get your feedback, one of the things I like to do with my friends is find out what they like and what they don't like. And then I start to narrow my recommendations, but I can see a certain trend, because this is sort of dirty and sloppy.
Yes.
And that's one of the things I like about it, and the Stones as well. But in terms of precision playing or whatever, it's not that. It's kind of got the feel to it, and one either likes the feel or not. So you may find your way in, but you may not, and that's okay too, right?
Cool. Yeah.
This was probably my intro into like country rock.
Yeah. That's one I don't have yet, Fitz. That's right at the top of my list. Mazzy has reminded me many times that this is one I need to get. I've streamed it lots, but I haven't I don't buy my 74s online unless it's from a friend. So I wait to see them in the wild, because it lasts longer that way.
Yeah.
So
and there is a Rhino high fidelity version.
I think I saw that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I should be able to pick that up at a store before too long.
Yeah.
But that would be. How do you? I don't. It's what kind of genre? Americana into country, but it's not all the way country.
I mean, I just think about it when I first heard it. So the term Americana didn't exist. The term roots, I wouldn't really call it roots, because it's not bluesy, but those didn't really exist. And so at the time, I would have, and now being a kind of classic rock guy, listening to Alice Cooper and Foghat, Bad Company, and Led Zeppelin stuff, I would have called this country. But my father, my father loved real country music, right? Like George Jones and Tammy Wynette and Loretta Lynn. And when I would sort of play this for him, trying to find a bridge in our music tastes, he would just look at me and say, "That's city country."
Interesting.
Which was a real put down, right?
Yeah.
But for me, this was country. Like, this was at the time country. Emmylou Harris, like the way they sing together, is just, you know, the
Yeah.
way where it covers it is just
Yeah.
exquisite. And it kind of is on it's on a perimeter of genres, right? I almost see like a Venn diagram of, you know, country music and rock music and singer-songwriter music, because he was an amazing singer-songwriter. So if you think about, you know, the Jackson Browns and that kind of thing.
Would you classify like John Prine and Townes Van Zandt kind of in there as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. For me anyways, but it's
Yeah.
all very subjective, right?
Sure. Sure.
I just got 2 or 3 more if you'll indulge me.
Please, please.
I've
More than
actually
merrier.
got lots more, but
Yeah.
so this one I did not get into in 74 because I wasn't really listening to him in 74. But having become probably the artist I have the most records of, and this has become maybe my favorite, and that's On the
On the
Beach.
Beach.
This to me
Yeah.
is just
One of my favorites from 74. Yeah. It's so good. It's now I learned that he did what was called the Ditch trilogy. Is that right? And
yeah.
this is like the last one or something like that.
Yeah, I'm
Or
not sure the chronology, but Time
yeah.
Fades Away and Tonight's the Night and this,
Yeah.
and we're all now. This is interesting to me, Marty, because when I think about, do you like Tonight's the Night
I
or
do.
Time Fades Away?
Yeah, I like all Neil Young up to, you know, the mid 80s or whatever.
So here's what is interesting to me, because I'm making sort of judgments, not plus or minus, but trying to understand your preferences. So
Okay.
to me, Neil can get very sloppy, and the feel transcends the precision of performance, right?
Indeed.
It's all about
That's
the feel.
exactly right. Yeah.
And Time
Yeah.
Fades Away and Tonight's the Night in particular, they're rough, right?
Okay.
But they're just raw and beautiful.
Yeah. It's interesting how we give him a break on that when we might not on somebody else. There's just something about Neil that lends itself to those dirty guitar solos, you know, that it just seemed to be kind of, you know, that the more you listen to him, you kind of like Wilco's guitar solos, early guitar solos. It's like, what's going on here? This is discordant. This is kind of weird. But then once you know every note, it almost seems composed that way and intentional. And you kind of fall in love with it even more.
Yeah, and then there's also, for me, there's this thing that I think Neil Young, Bob Dylan, and others really hold in high regard in terms of doing recording, which is something that has a feel to it, that feels authentic, that feels powerful, and you don't go back and go, we got to do another take because there are a couple flubs on it, or it didn't sound perfect, but rather this was a great performance. Like Neil, another one of Neil's is this song called Welcome Back off of Barn. And it's full of mistakes and errors. And it was a late one, maybe a few years ago.
Yeah.
But at the end, and there's a film of the shooting of this. They just, you know, I can't remember if it was the drummer or whatever, comes off, goes, whoa. You know? Like, and that's how it feels.
That album.
Like,
yeah. That's cool.
Okay.
What were the during On the Beach, they were having
sliders.
That's right. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, I think it was like pot and honey kind of baked.
Right, honey sliders.
There is a really good podcast with, I think it's Rusty Kershaw, who plays on the album, Cocaine and Cowboys. And he talks about the making of the album and how messed up they all were when they were recording it. Yeah.
Interesting.
So this one,
Odds and Sods,
right? Just, you know, basically stuff that never made it on albums. And this is the first time I ever heard Pure and Easy, which became part of like Townsend's solo release, Who's First, I think. Anyways, you know this one, right?
Yeah. I don't know the album very well. I have it, but I haven't been a real, I need to spend more time with The Who. I just don't know their catalog. You know, I know their big hits, but yeah, that's got a cutout on the cover, doesn't it? Kind of a lot of them get torn up and pretty
wild. Later, like one of my favorites is Van Morrison, and a later one that I've been seeking out forever, and you probably know this because I'm guessing you got it in your 74 collection, but
I don't have it. That's the one that I don't have. That's one of his more expensive albums, actually. It's $40+ generally when I see it. There's probably a repress somewhere, but I don't have I have his live album from 74, but that's one that I'm still looking for.
That's a hell of a live album. Too Late to
It is
Stop
good.
Now
Yeah.
or whatever.
Do you like Weed and Fleece?
I love it. I absolutely,
Really?
I'm a huge Morrison fan. And this, for the last few years, I just got this recently in the used bin for $18 Canadian.
Oh, cool.
So I lucked out.
Nice.
$18 Canadian. That's like $12 for you. But
would you like it better than Astro Weeks even, do you think?
You know what? I'm not as big an Astro Weeks fan as other people. I like this a lot. I'm hard pressed to talk about like my favorites, but over the last few years, this has been my primary go-to Van Morrison, and I play him pretty regularly and have a pretty good collection of his stuff. So it's been really good to. I've talked about this before. There was a time when I was just the guy who was getting all the new music, like the stuff that was coming out, in the alternative rock, alt country, blah, blah, blah. And the last 4 or 5 years, I've been just going back and getting stuff that I never heard the first time around. And it's so cool to get into this and some of David Crosby and Crosby Nash and stuff. Years afterwards, after they were released and not being familiar with the music. And one of the things I love about that sort of 72 to 74 run is I think they're often the warmest, most beautifully produced records. There's something about the studios then and the technology, and of course it was all analog. It was just exquisite. It's just some of the nicest sound, and some of my favorite records of longstanding artists come in that sort of 3-year period.
Yeah, I'm supposed to go visit my sister in Ireland in April, so that's kind of one of those that I may find pretty readily over in Ireland. Yeah.
You just tell me when to stop.
No, keep going.
Okay. This one I'm going to leave in the cover, but
I need this one too.
Yeah. So this was a late discovery. I mean, I don't know how many people were into Betty Davis in 74, but what an eye opener. I mean, just a fiercely independent, potty mouthed funk meister. And I know you know this, but Miles Davis's wife, Betty Davis, she apparently introduced Miles to Jimi Hendrix, and I think introduced that rock and roll stuff that Miles started to bring in on Bitches Brew and stuff like that. But this is great. This is I've got a couple of her records and just love it.
I've seen that repress a few times, and I need to pick it up. Yeah. Very cool.
Tom Waits. So I think a lot of people don't appreciate his early stuff. There sort of came a time, and again, I'm sure you know this, Marty, where Tom Waits is the cool guy, and he's doing like found sounds and barking into, distorted, mics and stuff like that. Yeah. And I love that stuff too. But his early, Piano Man stuff, I love this In the Heart of Saturday Night.
And I think that's is it his second album? Because Closing Time was right before that. Is that right? I have both of those. And
I get them all kind of blurred. I look at them almost as a group of them. So Closing Time, this one, I can't even remember, Blue Valentine. There are a few that are all kind of, he's still got kind of a Swedish, like a sweet voice.
Yeah, his voice definitely changes over the years. There's no doubt about that. Yeah.
Sure does.
Yeah, he is I didn't know Tom Waits before I saw him on Bram Stoker's Dracula. Did you see that movie at all with Winona Ryder and Keanu Reeves?
I did, but I forgot that he was in that.
He's like this insane person that is kind of like this that is possessed by Dracula in London. He's in an insane asylum, and he's totally Tom Waits. I mean, just the role is just absolutely perfect for him. And then I found out that he was also a singer, and then listened to his stuff after that. That was a long time ago, but very cool. Yeah.
Have you ever seen Jim Jarmusch's Down by Law?
No, I haven't.
So he's in that with John Lurie, who's the saxophone player with, I think, the Lounge Lizards, if I got that right.
Down by Law.
And then what's that? Down by Law. Yeah, black and white. And it's these three guys who are in prison together. And one of them is Roberto Benigni, Life is Beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like talking about, like, he's just completely wild. He's talking about, it's not big enough in here to swing a cat. He's trying out these English idioms, and kind of getting them all messed up. and Waits plays a DJ who gets thrown in jail, and John Lurie goes, "Do your Lee Baby Sims thing, like your DJ thing, right?" And Waits is like, "No, man, I'm not going to do that." He goes, and he finally does his thing, and he goes, "Hey, you got your Lee Baby Sims on the radio? It's sunny in downtown LA." And he's in jail doing his like DJ rap. I think you'll enjoy it. It's a very quirky film.
Cool. I'll check it out. I'm sure I can stream it somewhere. Right on. I need to get into Jim Jarmusch. Did he do Wings of Desire?
No, that's Wim Wenders.
That's Wim Wenders, yeah.
Yeah, but Jim Jarmusch is just, he is so quirky. I mean, I kind of think of Wim Wenders and David Lynch and Jim Jarmusch as kind of like, they've got a sensibility that's somehow you get it or you don't.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of a digression here. Speaking of those kind of weird movies, the other night I recommended to Rachel and Sue the movie The Music of Chance, and they didn't like it at all. It's but it has that kind of, it's kind of not, it's not a fun watch. It's got a little bit of a Hitchcocky feeling, and it a little bit unresolved, but yet it's, I don't know, it's in my top 5 movies of all time. It's on, if anybody wants to watch it, it's on YouTube for free. It's formatted for television, but it's really good. It's Mandy Patinkin, James Spader, Charles Durning, Joel Grey, E. Emmett Walsh, and even Chris Penn has a little bit in it. But it's I saw that in the 90s when it came out. It came out in 93 or something like that, and I owned it for a while on DVD. It's absolutely, if you want to watch a movie that similar to those 3 that you directors that you mentioned, The Music of Chance, Fitz, check it out.
Awesome. Yeah. I will. Thank you very much for the recommendation. In the singer-songwriter vein.
Yeah, Jackson Browne, for sure.
That's a great record.
I love that picture on the front. It's just kind of,
Greek, right?
Very cool. That was one of the first 74s that I got. Yeah.
Yeah, not hard to get, but doesn't mean it's not a
He's still rocking, isn't he? Isn't he still going?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and he still puts on great shows, apparently. I really lament, because he was in town with James Taylor, and he played a hockey arena. And I thought, I don't want to see like, and I'm sort of I love James Taylor, but I don't necessarily need to see him live. But I would have wanted to see Jackson Browne. And apparently the sound was great, and it was an incredible show. The two of them put on a great show. So that
would be wild. Yeah, I'd love to see James Taylor live someday. That'd be great. We're a big fan. You know, his greatest hits album came out around when CDs started popping up. And that was one of my first CDs. Man, I spun that CD thousands of times.
Yeah.
His album from 74, Walking Man, is really good.
You know, I went to one of Neil Young's bridge benefit shows in California, and if you're familiar with them, he does stuff where it's not like full bands; it's usually stripped down. Anyways, it was that year. It was Ryan Adams and Tom York of Radiohead, and James Taylor came out, and I'm kind of I'm not really interested in James Taylor, and he was like his voice. The richness and the power of his voice, I completely underestimated how powerful somebody who writes these beautiful songs could be.
Oh, here's a nugget for you. Have you ever heard of Ben Taylor?
No.
He is the child of James Taylor and Carly Simon.
Wow.
And he's got some albums that he released in the 90s. It's kind of weird because he releases them, I think, as Ben Taylor and the Benjamin Taylor Band, and there's three different albums, and they are amazing. They are absolutely fantastic. I've never looked to see if they're on vinyl. I doubt they are, but you can stream them for sure. He sounds just like his dad and just like his mom, and he has some of that cadence like his dad, but the songwriting is a little bit more psychedelic. It's a little bit more progressive. But it's that same, it's really easy to listen to and really fun. So check out Ben Taylor, anybody who's interested. Very cool.
I don't have pen and paper in front of me, so I'm going to have to go back and rewatch this.
Right
Music of Chance, Ben Taylor.
Yeah,
this is why we do this.
Okay.
This is a very brief one, but this is a series that I really love, Late Night Tales, but the Exorcist soundtrack and the movie The Exorcist that I love. So this is actually
74.
So The Exorcist, I believe, is 74, and yeah. So who was sorry.
Neat.
I want to make sure I got this right. So yeah, it's Mike Oldfield, right? And that movie just completely scrambled my brains. I mean, I we all went off and took our birth certificates, and somebody, like, we got fake IDs and we all got in.
Oh,
And when I
wow.
left the movie, I was like, oh boy, I shouldn't have seen that. Like, that
Yeah.
really messed me up. I remember just like having a hard time sleeping at night. It was kind of like seeing Dirty Harry in a different way, but it was like the whole idea of evil. I was still so naive, and I just couldn't understand like how scary the nature of evil. Like, I just didn't really
Yeah.
understand what it really meant. And The Exorcist and Dirty Harry in different ways kind of did that for me.
You know, when that I of course didn't see it in the theater, but when I saw it years later on VHS, I was in the right in the midst of my my religious days. And so all of that say, you know, possession and that kind of stuff, that was all very, very real to me. So it it affected, and it affects people who are religious on a different, you know, on an even deeper, because they feel that there's a spiritual battle going on all around them all the time, demons and angels fighting and for our souls and all that kind of stuff. So to see that was just like, I mean, when it came out, it was kind of like next level. There wasn't really anything before that, was there, like that?
No, and there were talks of people leaving the theaters, like, like going through some sort of psychotic, and that may be all media related,
Yeah.
or people vomiting, because there's a lot of vomit in the
Yeah,
film.
yeah.
But I know amongst all of us, it's like you either had seen The Exorcist or you hadn't seen it. And if you'd saw it, you felt like you were part of a club that survived it.
Yeah. Interesting. For sure. Okay. So do you have some 59s now, or what are you
a few 59s.
So this will be, I'm curious about this. Yeah.
Well, again, I assume that this is the case for you with 74s, is you have to do a bit of research because you weren't aware of them when you were born.
Right. Exactly. That's exactly right.
So I don't have too many. And obviously rock and roll doesn't play any part in any of it. And 59, right? So 59 was my year of birth. I'll start off with one that I got from my grandmother, and it's got my uncle's name on the record somewhere. I don't know where it is. Yeah. So my uncle, Gerd Agnew.
Wow.
That was his record. But 1959,
Oh, what a picture.
Dance With Me.
That's cool.
The Billy May Orchestra.
Now, this was before stereo, correct?
Yeah, this is all before stereo, that's for sure. It says high fidelity recording. But
yeah, I see that on classical records, some older classical records sometimes it says high fidelity, but it's still mono. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good quality, but it was before stereo. So
right.
Yeah. So that's that one. Miles Davis, I think, released 3 or 4 records in 59, but this is of course the famous one. So
okay.
It was 59.
Yeah. My cousin bought that for me on CD back in the 90s, and I listened to it a lot, but I haven't been able to get to form a real affection for Miles Davis. I don't know if it's that I'm not into. I love the trumpet. His album, what is it, Big Fun from '74. I have that, and he has that. There's another one there too, but man, I paid up for the album, but I just can't. What do you like Miles Davis? I mean, are you?
Yeah, I do, but there's stuff that I like of his and stuff that I don't. The famous quote from him is he's at the White House and some woman comes up to him and says, who are you? And he goes, well, I changed music 7 times or something like that.
Yeah.
Classic Miles Davis. Hyperbole,
like...
but actually not hyperbole. It's actual truth.
Yeah.
I love his modal stuff because I like modal music. And so this one I really like. I really like In a Silent Way. To me, that's almost like a precursor to ambient music. It's like, it's so beautiful. I never could get into his sort of electric stuff. Bitches Brew. Well, that's not true. Jock Johnson I really like, but Bitches Brew is like the album that I keep saying I got to get into this, and I can't get my way in. And On the Corner, which I think is around the same time, which many people consider to be one of his greatest works, And I bought it and I sold it. I just couldn't get into it at all, and couldn't see myself getting into it either. So I understand. I think I like his early stuff with Coltrane. I have to say, if I was saying to somebody who said I don't really like Miles Davis very much, I would say getting into something like Sketches of Spain. For me, Sketches of Spain is just magical. It's beautiful.
I have that album, but I have it down at the in my for sale records down at the antique shop. Maybe I should go pull it off the wall and give it a spin.
Yeah, give the Concierto de Aruanes. I don't know how you pronounce it, but it's to me it's really beautiful, and the Spanish influence of it is really gorgeous. And I think if you give that a go, and I think the other one that's very easy to get into is My Funny Valentine. Or no, Someday My Prince Will Come, which I think has My Funny Valentine on it. So
okay.
His standards might be the thing. Well, another one of his that I actually really like as well is Porgy and Bess. Really
okay.
like that. Here comes the Honeyman. Here comes the Honeyman.
Is that 59 as well?
What's that?
Is that 59 as well?
This is 59 as well. And I think he had at least one or two other records. Working with the Miles Davis Quintet or something was 59. He had like 4 records out that year. This was the Bill Evans. Everybody digs Bill Evans.
Yeah, 59. I do love Bill Evans.
This has got Peace, Peace on it, which is such an incredible piece of music. Just gorgeous. And I'll just wrap up with I think maybe my favorite Chet Baker album, which has got Bill Evans on it as well. So
cool.
I always think Bill Evans and Chet Baker are very similar sensibilities, one on the trumpet and one on the piano. So when the two of them come together, it's just so great. This one of my favorite jazz records of all time. I just love this record. Yeah.
You like that better than like Chet Baker Sings?
That's
his most, the one I see more often.
I mean, Chet Baker Sings. I love a lot of Chet Baker's stuff, all the way through his career, right to the end. But for me, this is my personal favorite.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Those are my 59s.
Fantastic. Oh man, Fitz, I really appreciate that. Let's if anybody wants a link, send me a message, and I'll shoot it off to you. And let's see here, see if I have any that I'm not seeing. No, everything, I think I'm good. Okay. So anyway, dead air. What do we talk about now? Let's see. I guess I should pay attention to the chat a little bit. Loki likes when I do that. Let's see. I know Elvis is Back album came out in 1960. Okay, that's after he came out of the military, probably, right? Does that sound right?
I don't know. I think 50,000 Elvis Fans Can't Be Wrong is also out that in 74.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we're talking 60. Yeah, I was thinking 74.
Yeah. What year did the Elvis album come out? His first album with the Sex Pistols, or was it the Clash, or what? The Clash. Yeah. Was that like 54 or 55, maybe something like that?
I'm not good on my Elvis dates.
Yeah, neither am I. I have his 274s, Good Times, and then there's one live in Memphis. It's got a picture of Graceland on the cover.
I love Elvis in Memphis, or the Memphis record, which I think is 69 or 70.
Okay. The as you were saying, a lot of bands and artists were putting out multiple records per year back in the day, and I was wondering the other day, what artists do I have? See you, babe. Take care. What artists do I have that put out the most albums in 74? And I think, I'm not sure which one, but Roy Clark. I think I have 4 or 5 of his albums. Some of them are like a compilation, or whatever. But he did a ton, and then. Charlie Rich. I've got 4 albums from 74 from Charlie Rich, who was great. The Silver Fox is fantastic. It's not just country. He does some other stuff on there, some crooner type stuff. It was really good. But
Hey, Marty, were
yeah,
you, is there any music from your family from growing up that your parents would have chosen that's kind of bled through into your interests?
yeah. They were, they were. Of course, we were when my dad grew up and whatever. We were Mennonite, right? So there wasn't a whole lot of.
Right.
And my grandpa was Amish, so there was gospel music. And then when my dad got to college, he started listening to stuff like Glenn Campbell and John Denver, and that kind of the folk scene, more or less. And then when I was a kid, my dad sang in a Southern gospel quartet. That was also I've mentioned this, but that was also the families would come up and sing too. So me and my sisters would get up and sing, and then that my dad has sang in Southern gospel quartets off and on throughout my whole life, and so we were real. We're kind of a musical family. I took piano lessons and became a bass player and played in the church band and all that kind of stuff growing up. But there was no rock and roll. We didn't do. I listened to when I was starting at about 12. I started listening to Christian rock, and we used to go to a Christian music festival called Jesus Northwest up here in Vancouver, Washington. And so we'd hear bands like Petra and Michael W. Smith and Whiteheart and do you remember Mylon Lefebvre? Remember that name at all?
No.
He had an album with, I think, Alvin Lee back in the day, but he then became a gospel artist, and he had a band called Mylon and Broken Heart. I got really into the Imperials, and still am. They're the number one. They were the number one gospel band from like '69 all the way through the mid '80s. They made tons of albums, and they had a period in the late '70s to early '80s where their lead singer was a guy named Russ Taff, who I think he grew up down in the oil fields in Bakersfield, and just one of the most incredible lead vocalists that I've ever heard. And I listened to their album, One More Song for You, just about every week. I stream it in the truck. It's from '78, and I call it it's the best white gospel soul album from the late '70s. And it was produced by Michael O'Mardian, who produced Christopher Cross. Remember Christopher Cross?
Of course.
His big
Yes.
albums, with Sailing and stuff.
Yeah.
And Michael O'Mardian did work with lots of artists and was in the studio with Steely Dan during I think Katy Lied in Asia and Pretzel Logic and stuff. And he plays piano and produces this album by the Imperials, and it's really really good, really good. Anyway,
Wow.
I digress.
That's a hell of a recommendation.
Yeah. Now you said you were into punk. Did that start when you were younger? Or did you get into that when you were older?
Well, yeah, no, I got into it pretty much as soon as it happened because I was fascinated by what was happening in England. And when I heard about the Sex Pistols, I kind of was following them in news, and it was like they're getting into trouble with the law, and I was finding that very exciting. And these chaotic shows. And then the big thing for me, and I apologize for those that have heard this before, but this was a defining moment for me. I went to see in high school, I went to see Iggy Pop play, and I didn't know who he was, but I only went because David Bowie was playing keyboards. And so I was like 14 rows from Bowie on the keyboards, and on stage, Iggy Pop was screaming, "Now I want to be your dog," and throwing himself around the stage. And I didn't know what the hell was going on. Like, it really was kind of like I left completely discombobulated. And it literally took me a little while to absorb what had happened. And I decided that it was the greatest thing I'd ever experienced. And from that point on, it was just all Clash, Ramones. I got to see the Clash 5 times live. Even stormed the stage and got right up on stage next to
Really?
White Riot. So I know I don't look like a punker, but in my heart and soul, I've got that. And I loved the energy of punk rock. And for me, all the stuff that was felt so bloated, I suddenly felt like rock is back, and I was excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is punk over, or are there artists that are kind of keeping the candle lit in punk?
Yeah, punk's not over, but I think as a movement, probably not so much. There are a lot of people who argue that, for example, punk kind of as a genre started to descend, and hip hop or rap became the new punk. Like, part of punk is music and part of punk is the attitude. And you could argue that, rap, even though I'm not really into rap, became kind of the new punk. So there's always people out there who are creating music that essentially is punk, but as a movement, I think it's more of a silo, right?
Okay. Yeah. What's your favorite mustard, Fitz?
Oh, Grey Poupon.
Grey Poupon. I love mustard. I'm a big
Dijon.
Yeah. I even sometimes I'll even just choose a plain yellow mustard, like French's or whatever. Yeah, it's nothing like a bologna sandwich with yellow mustard on it.
Oh, and a dog, like a ballpark.
Oh yeah, for sure, absolutely. Yeah. Do you have Costco's up there, right?
Yeah.
So do you ever get a Costco hot dog?
Maybe 4 days ago, I sort of texted my wife and I said, I'm not going to be home for lunch. I'm going to get a hot dog at Costco.
Is it $1.50 there for a drink and a dog?
Still? It is.
It's when I was driving long haul, I delivered the last year that I did it. I was delivering paper products to Costco's in Western Washington and parts of Oregon, and so I would get to the store the night before I delivered and park, but generally behind the store in a parking lot next door, and walk in and get a rotisserie chicken.
Yeah,
that $5 chicken, man. I had dozens of those over that year, and it's a lost leader for them. But
I just polished one off yesterday. In fact, I think I've got enough for some chicken chahan that my wife will make. But
yeah.
Like the rotisserie, like right off of that with potatoes and salad, and then chicken sandwiches, and then it eventually becomes sort of a chicken fried rice that my wife makes.
Yeah, I have this in my truck. I had an air fryer, just a small air fryer, and I'd go inside. I'd get the rotisserie chicken, cut it up, and I would put frozen broccoli in the air fryer, and then take the skin off of the chicken and drape it over the broccoli and put that in there. And then, of course, that delicious fat would soak into the broccoli. And then I'd get these crispy pieces of chicken skin and dress them up with hot sauce or whatever, which is really cool.
I should just shout out to my wife, honey, I've learned a new way to cook broccoli.
There you go. Yeah. That was and of course the broccoli came in the big frozen bags from Costco as well. Those are really good broccoli.
Yeah,
I miss doing that. I wasn't home every night, so what I have now is better. But that was really fun. I had those nights where I would park. I had this keyboard in my truck with me, so I'd have a lot of time to play the keyboard, make my meals, and just relax in the truck because I couldn't be home. So that was a routine that I got used to.
I'm just thinking about my stepson. He does furniture installation, like office furniture, and he's off in Chilliwack, a couple hours away. They put him up in a hotel for 2 weeks, and he's a guitarist and keyboard player. So he brought his studio up to his hotel room. So at the end of the day, he's creating music. And
you really can. When you don't have any distraction, you don't have any friends or family around or whatever, you can. I found my learning curve was a lot quicker in my truck when that's all I had to do.
Yeah.
A lot of truckers, a lot of these younger truckers, they have a big gaming system with the TV in their truck and they're just gaming all night. Right. I never did get a TV and didn't get into that. I had my keyboard and it was so much better.
That's great.
Elliot's still searching for the middle C in the piano behind him. I did see that piano in your music room there, Elliot. Chauncey, hey Chauncey, good to see you. You've probably been here a while. I hadn't noticed. He records at Dagon's too. Dagon's close to where you are up there, I guess. John, up in now. How close are you to like downtown Vancouver, Fitz?
I'm like 7 minutes from downtown.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. All right. My youngest sister went to film school up in Vancouver.
BFS.
I got to visit her up there. It's a big film town, right?
It is.
Yeah. And is it Bryant Park? Is that the name of the big park that you have there? What's the name? There's a big park to walk that's close to that's on the water.
Stanley Park.
Stanley Park. That's right.
Yeah.
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 That was cool. That's big, isn't it? Is it kind of like your Central Park?
Definitely. Yeah, it's great. Great for biking, walking. Yeah, it's really nice.
And Vancouver's a really kind of a melting pot too. You have lots of good ethnic food and stuff like that, and the arts and culture is really cool.
It's very good. Although I grew up in Toronto mostly, and that even eclipses Vancouver.
Oh, really?
More Black culture in Toronto, and here not quite so prevalent as it was in Toronto. Yeah.
How long have you? When you got married? Did you move to BC or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I met my wife in Japan. I was there from 90 to 94, and then in Tokyo, and then we moved back here after traveling for about 6 months through Asia. We moved to Vancouver in the beginning of 95.
So that's your connection to Japan is through your wife then.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so she has family there that you probably go back and see. Or...
Yeah, we've got our grandkids there, but she doesn't have much family now.
Okay.
But yeah, I went over just to make money, and then I met her there, and I also really enjoyed Japan, and she was a big reason why I enjoyed it.
Sure.
But I expected to go over, and again, I don't know your daughter's background, but for me, it was like I wanted to make money and I wanted to have an adventure, so I went to Japan. But I expected to be back after a year, and it ended up being 3.5 years. And
now you go back. So you just said you have grandkids over there.
Yes.
Okay. So so you want to go see your family over there.
Yeah, we get the grandkids to come back often every summer for about 4 weeks or so, which is really, really good. And then like for Japan, and then I go back to Toronto. I've got 2 brothers and cousins and stuff in Toronto, so I'll go there in April. So it's good reason to have places to go in the world.
Cool.
Yeah.
Ian, thanks if you're not gone already. Thanks for stopping by, Ian. Appreciate it. Let's see. I put the oh, hey, look who's in the backstage here. Here we go. Hey, Dave, how long have you been there?
Hey, not too long.
Right on.
I'm good.
All right. You got some records you want to show?
No, I just wanted to correct you guys on something.
Oh, here we go.
This was put out on stereo.
Oh, look, he's got it.
Oh,
stereo.
59. Look at that. You know what though, Dave?
Yeah.
I have the mono version.
Yeah.
But I got the near mint. This sounds good in stereo too.
Wow, interesting. I learned something today. I didn't even think stereo was around then.
Actually, before I went around hang around you guys, stereo was put out. First stereo albums were in 58 in the United States. 58.
Oh, cool.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah, because Living Stereo. Oh, look at that.
I got 2 other 59 albums by Frank.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Dave, how many albums do you have?
Over 1,200.
Okay.
That's a lot. Yeah, you know. And I got another Frank from 50 comp album from Frank.
Wow.
Yep.
I've never seen that.
It's a previously, it's not new. It's like compilation of older songs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a very good webcam at the moment, so you can't really. This webcam sucks. Yeah. Oh, well, albums, jazz and big band, of course I like. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right on. Do you ever get Living Stereo stuff, Dave? You know what I'm talking about?
RCA Victor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have some. I have some RCA Victor on Living Stereo. Yeah, 58, 59.
Yeah. I whenever I see those in a thrift store and they're in good shape, I always pick them up because they're just a few bucks generally. And I've sold several of them, but I have probably 10 or 15 now that I'll just go back to. And some of it's not, it's the best stuff is classical, but there are some other more popular stuff like music for relaxation and music for reading and stuff like that. That's kind of loungy and stuff. It's really good stuff. Yeah.
I have some. I think I have some RCA Victor jazz albums on Living Stereo too.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. They have, and there's just something about those covers too when you find them in good condition, and that label with the shaded dog or sometimes they're black and stuff like that. They're all they're like 180 grams or they're all generally pretty well. But I guess the Michael from Poetry on Plastic was saying that's as far as classical recordings, the Living Stereo stuff, and the Mercury Living Presence is right up there with some of the best stuff. I mean, I
Yeah.
guess other than the repress stuff that they do.
As long as the person took good care of those old albums, they sound great. Living Stereo.
Yeah, they
exactly.
They do. Yeah. So Dave, how far are you away from like Cheyenne?
That's a 4-hour drive.
4 hour. What about, so that's are you west of that?
Riverton's in halfway between Yellowstone Park and Casper.
Okay.
You know where Yellowstone Park is?
So I mean, you talk about going to these thrift stores that you go to and stuff like that, but surely you see the same albums. I mean, how many thrift stores are on your circuit?
We have now we have one thrift, two secondhand stores. They all have records, but I still go there, once a month. Just, you never know when you find some people donate some new albums.
Yeah.
So I do find them a lot once in a while.
Do you find yourself flipping through the same albums though?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes you gotta wait for a few months. You never know when people will donate stuff.
Yeah, I know. We have just a small Goodwill here in Silverton, and I go in probably 3 times a week, and I now can. There's a thickness of records there that's 2.5 feet or whatever, and I can pretty much tell if they've added anything to it, so I don't have to flip through it again. The first thing I do is I go back into the electronics department to see if there's any old turntables or stereos there that I need to pick up, and then I circle back to the records and check out. But I'm generally in just for like 5 minutes. But when they do get good, I have gotten some really good albums there. But I have probably in Salem, which is 15 minutes west of me here, there's probably 6 different
cool
stores and stuff that I go to, and I can generally find some good stuff there. We have a pretty good one of our record shops, Harvest Records. The guy passed away last year, and it's just been sitting full of, I don't know, he's got to have close to 100,000 records inside of it. It's just sitting there doing nothing. And,
well, I mean, like for instance, I don't mean to interrupt. Like in Fremont County, there's this Lander, Wyoming, which is 29 miles south of here. They have a church thrift shop. Last summer, so you never know. You have to ask those people sometimes if they have records in the back. I did. I bought like 20 big band albums for $1 that they had in the back.
Wow.
They let me look through them last summer.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to ask certain things, because a lot of people don't. People are getting wiser to the fact that records are more valuable now, and they go for more now. But there's still a group of people that just don't know, and sometimes they won't put them out or whatever because they don't think they're going to get much for them, or it's not worth it. I get on Facebook Marketplace daily and check the records there, and it's just,
I do that too sometimes.
It's just full of all Ray Conniff, Eddie Arnold, just all those thrift store regulars.
Yeah, who cares about Ray Conniff, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Marty, in another 15 or 20 years, it'll all be 70s stuff.
Maybe so.
Oh, yeah, sure, yeah.
Beat sales.
Yeah, that'd be great. There's definitely, as we get older, guys that are a little older than us are getting rid of their, God forbid, they're passing away or dying or whatever, and their collections oftentimes get sent in to get sold somewhere or put in thrift stores. So there's not I haven't seen a lot of 20 and 30 somethings that are collecting classic rock. There's a large contingent of kids that are collecting new vinyl, but it seems to me that the VC is made up largely of older dudes like dudes like us.
Yeah.
Paul, yes, I have been to the House of Records in Eugene, and it's a good place. I bought last month. I bought T-Rex's zinc alloy and the 74 was. But here's the problem with the House of Records in Eugene is that most of they have the records where you can flip through, but most of them are stacked so that you have to pull them out. And they've got names for the big artists and stuff in it, but they've got, there's like 5,000 records where you have to go like this, and it just gets, you can get to where you can kind of read the spines, but if it's on a used records, the spines are, and it just, you kind of almost have to, like, I like to go into a record store and look at all of them. You know, maybe not all the records, but like the record store in town here, they probably have 3,000 records. And I'll flip, other than a few genres, I'll flip through most of it to see if there's something that I want or something that's new. But you just can't do it when it's like that. So it's a cool place. It's in an old Craftsman house that's painted green, right downtown in Eugene. But yeah, Chauncey, you told me on the last stream that I am getting your collection. That's not fair. No take backsies.
That's very Trumpian of you.
Yeah.
Hey, Mark, here's a living stereo Perez Prado.
There you go.
See, it
Perez
does that.
Prado. Yeah.
This is from 58.
He's singing on that, isn't he?
No.
Oh,
he's a Cuban mambo jazz type.
Oh, okay. All right. I haven't seen that one.
This is just for example. These were close by. Here's a jazz. This is jazz, big band jazz musicians.
Straight down the middle.
Solitaire Finnegan Orchestra.
Looks like they're on the right there. They're getting into some hanky panky here pretty quick.
Yeah.
Maybe he's just lifting him up to dance to the music with him. Hey, Elliot, take care. We'll see you later, man.
I do have some living stereo jazz albums. Yeah.
Do you like jazz, Dave?
Of course. That's I lot. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite or a genre of jazz that you like?
No, I like jazz music. I like smooth jazz from the 70s, 80s, jazz fusion, 50s through the 80s. I like that. I even like Michael Bublé, Diana Krall, Harry Connick Jr. singers.
Yeah, I like Diana Krall and Harry Connick. Absolutely.
Are you a Pat Metheny fan, Dave?
Who?
Pat Metheny.
Oh yeah, I have some albums by Pat Metheny. Yes, he's a good guitar player. Yeah, I have 3. I have that as Wichita Falls.
Right.
Wichita Falls one. That's a good one. Yeah.
What's the one? Pat Metheny, is it Jan Garabak, or how do I say? It's a white album cover, and maybe Keith Jarrett.
Jan Garabak, how you pronounce that?
Garabak. Yeah, I ran across that one a while back. So
I really enjoyed Pat Metheny group, like with Lyle Mays.
It
was they were great, and live they were a very powerful band.
Cool.
Right on.
Wow.
No classic rock, Chauncey. Doesn't matter, bud. I like stuff besides classic rock. Come on, man. Give me some credit there. Face melting jazz. That's what I like. I do like it, or I'm learning to like it. Paul wants to know, Dave, if you sent that, if you like that jazz playlist he sent you.
He sent me that through Instagram. Yeah, it was free jazz. He sent me.
That's cool.
Because I didn't know what free jazz was. I guess.
I assume that means Bill does not like Pat Metheny.
Probably.
Cool. Let's see. Well, guys, I think I'm gonna wrap it up and go have some lunch. If that's okay with you guys.
No problem.
I kindly thank you for hanging out here. Fitz, great to see those records. Let's do it again sometime. And
would love to.
Dave, thanks for popping in here at the end. And
I appreciate you. I appreciate you always having me on. Thank you.
You bet. And we'll plan on doing this again next week sometime. And so see you then. Thanks, guys.
Take
you. Care.
Thanks,
see everybody. Thanks for coming. Bye.
Hey, Fitz, thanks.
See you.